What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker, and today on Unique Access, we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by Smooth B.
Yes.
Thank you for coming through, sir.
Oh, man, my man, pots and pans. You know how we do, son. You're my brother, man.
Man, it's always an honor and a pleasure, man. And for those that haven't seen it, I did a couple great interviews with Nice and Smooth that you guys definitely need to check out that are phenomenal. But Smooth B's got so many things going on, we had to have him come back. So
Yeah, man.
It's always great seeing you, man.
Absolutely, man. Great to be here, bro.
So, before we get to anything else, we got to talk about before.
Okay, bet.
So, Smooth B put out a phenomenal new song.
Yes.
Before.
Yes.
The video is great. If you guys haven't seen it, make sure to watch it after you check out the interview, and we'll put a little splice in. But Smooth B, what made Before the right song for you to reemerge?
Yeah, man. You know, well, like the song Before is a very special song to me, man, because it's like when you hear it, it's an introspective look into the world of Smooth B, you know. Like over the years, you know, of course, I was in a great partnership with, you know, Greg Nice and Smooth. And but at the same time, it was always searching for a balance for the records. And so over the last few years, we were doing a lot of different spot dates, different, gigs here and there, so forth and so on. And people would come up to me, and I'm like, I always try to listen to the universe. I try to I pay attention to things. And I knew within myself, I was still writing, I was making different songs and so forth and so on. And, sometimes in a partnership, in all times in any partnership, you have to agree totally on whatever it is you're pursuing.
Right.
So we would go through our different little things, and maybe my, partner, might not want to make a record at this time or whatever. So I started just feeling like creating and putting something out. So I started writing, going in the studio, putting some things together. And then as we would do the shows, people would come up to me after the shows, and I kept noticing this, like it was like a reoccurrence, and it just kept happening like a prompt. And it was like, people would come to me and go, "Yo, Smooth, you should do a solo album, man. It's long overdue." And I'd be like, "Oh, well, yeah, no doubt." Or, "Yo, you working on something, right?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, like, how you know?" You know what I'm saying? So I said, all right. I said, God is talking to me, And so I just, kept on doing it. And what happened with Before was, when we were growing up in hip hop, I grew up in the Bronx, of course, for those that don't know, and I grew up amongst the originators and the pioneers, and I used to see Flash, at the time, of course, Grandmaster Flash, but at the time he was DJ Flash, and it was DJ Kool Herc, Africa Band. I used to go to the jams and so forth and so on as a kid. And, one thing was that I think Bam was the one that went far left with it. He would play all types of rock records, and he would infuse different types of music.
That's where the Kraftwerk comes from.
There you go. You feel what I'm talking about? So he kept it strong and always inventive and so forth and so on. So he always had you wondering, what record was that? What record was that? Where did that come from? And so that brought in my sense of listening to rock. And listening to groups like Saron and Queen and We Will Rock You. That was an intricate part of hip hop. And so along that journey, I stumbled across Sir Elton John at a young age. So I had a neighbor. Note this, in the 70s, and all of my associates, all my partners, and Dane, everybody, they can attest to this. Growing up in New York, especially in the 70s, it was like a melting pot. So you was in your building, you had Latino, Jewish. I had Jewish neighbors. I had Filipino neighbors. You know what I'm saying? And in the holidays, we would all come together and partake and add on to, each other's culture, learn about each other, so forth and so on. Well, anyway, one of my little friends, he turned me on to Elton John back in the days. And it was a song, Crocodile Rock. That was the first song I ever heard by Sir Elton John. And then Benny and the Jets. This dude is dope, and so, as a kid. And so I hadn't heard this song, I guess that's why they call it the blues. I hadn't heard that in over 20 years.
Okay.
And so, and what I did, like I do often, they consider it an interpolation, where you take the original joint and then I put my hip hop swag on it, like How to Flow, all of those early Nice and Smooth routines or whatever. I would write them with my favorite songs in mind, and I flip them in a hip hop form. All right, fine. I go in this store. I go in a 99-cent store.
Okay.
All right, Soren. Now, for those of you that don't know, a 99-cent store in California is like a supermarket. They're big, you can buy food, you can buy all types of stuff in there, you know. So I'm walking down the aisle, and over the speaker, I guess that's why they call it the blues, comes on. And I was like, oh, and I stopped in my tracks. I was in the middle of the aisle. I pulled my phone out, I put it on Shazam, and I put it up, and I was like, yo, and then I looked, I was like, yo, man, Elton John, yeah. So I just stood there, and I'm listening to the song, and that really sparked it. Like, I was like, because at that moment in time, it was damn near a tearjerker, Soren, to be honest with you, because, you know, over these last couple of years, I had some family losses. I lost one of my brothers, you know, so forth and so on. So I was just, it took me on a journey to my childhood in a matter of 5 minutes. And I was just standing there. And I told my wife, because she was walking with me until I stopped. She thought I was still walking with her. She walking her head with the cart. And I'm standing there Shazamming. So she turned around like, what you doing? I was like, there's some shit happening. You know, so long story short, I told her, I said, I got it. I got the song, I got the routine. So she was like, yeah. I went home and I started writing before. And that's why I started off. When I was young, I had to beat the clock before. I was the first one with Pumas on the block before. And I just started talking about different things that I had experienced growing up. And yes, everything on the song is factual. Yes, I did really hit a nigga in the head with a lock and a sock before. And I smoked several blunts with Tupac before. So, yeah.
Well, that was one of the things that I liked it because, alluding to the work with Nice and Smooth, I always enjoyed how you wove, even if it was a braggadocio song,
right,
you wove in a story either about yourself or about someone else into the song.
Right.
And you know, that was from the self-titled debut album all the way up till now we're doing it with Before again. So why is that something that's always so special and always works so well for you, do you think?
I think, you know, basically because it's my truth. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's the strongest foundation I could come to. You know, yeah, I mean, I'm blessed. I'm a very creative dude. My imagination is just vast. I trip out. But at the same time, you know, I find that when I hit home with topics of things of my experience, you know, not only does it make me write it even better, but in the process, like songs like Sometimes I Rhyme Slow or different songs like that in the past, they either heal people. People come up to me and say, yo, that song helped me through that. And I'm like, word. And so that was something that I recognized back in the days. If I could tell my truth, if I could tell aspects of my life, and then it helps or motivates someone else, then I guess I'm doing God's work. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that speaks to the power of what you've done, both now coming out more as a solo artist, but also with Nice and Smooth, in the sense that I always thought it was amazing. Obviously, I study your music, of course, but the thing is that most people that listen to the music that I knew that I grew up with or later that I was friends with in college or something that liked you guys, it was more because it was fun.
Yes.
But your lyrics often had a much deeper philosophical element to it.
Absolutely.
And that to me is what makes it powerful.
Yes.
And that power, I think we see again on Before.
Yes. Thank you.
And it's with the Sox, with the Tupac, because you're bringing in these autobiographical elements, even if they're only a line or two.
Yes.
It stops to make you think. You know?
Right, son. My man.
And that's, to me, one of the many reasons I think the record is so powerful. But the other thing I wanted to get on a very related note is, as somebody that came out and has been prominent since the 80s till today, since there's an age thing with rap,
right,
what made you know and be confident and believe that this was going to work?
Oh, man. I like you, son. You ask great questions, man.
Thank you.
You know, the thing was, you know, like you said, coming up how I came up and seeing the things that I saw and having the different experiences, I just wasn't satisfied with the state of hip-hop, man. to be truthfully honest with you.
Okay.
And when we were coming up, I mean, this thing really means something to me, man. I really love this thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like I really can't shake it. And it's kind of sad that no other musical genre has a ceiling that pertains to age.
Right.
Except for hip hop. That's ridiculous.
Right.
As long as you can do it, do it. You know? And so I sat down and I was really honest with myself. And I asked myself a series of questions over the last year, and I was like,
Okay.
what are you dissatisfied with? What brings you joy? And I just kept asking myself all these questions, particularly about the industry, particularly about my craft. And I started to realize, like, man, I started to lose some of the love for my craft due to the industry. And that's not supposed to happen, really. I mean, it's a natural thing when you go through enough stuff and you go through all manner of frustration and what seems to be insurmountable odds. And then, you know, we come from 2-inch reels,
Right.
you know, carrying reels when things were tangible. You know what I'm saying?
Carrying records.
Right, carrying records, touching them. You know, it was a whole nother feel. And you know, now it's digital but you know, you gotta look at it's all perception. Because the abilities that we have now, where things are at the push of a button. You know, I could send music to the other side of the world in 3 minutes, 1 minute. You know what I mean? And that's amazing when you stop and think about it. So I said, you know what? Let me start to really, really get into it, learn some of these formats, and really, you know what I'm saying, and rock out. And so the thing was, back to this one, when I started to see the lack of creativity. You know, I'm not saying it's not, but some of the stuff, you know, we know, man.
Right.
You know, and it's not always, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I get it. Maybe it's just a vibe. You don't have to necessarily know what someone is talking about. But as far as hip hop has come, right. And so many ways, you know, and the people that hold the platform that really like just pave the way and open the doors go unnoticed. People don't even know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Due to a lack of, how would you say, research. You know what I mean? A lack of information. And now we're in the information highway. So that's what I would tell the younger generations, you know, like, come on, man, Google me, Barbara. You know what I'm saying? Like, find out who was doing it before you. It'll make your journey even better. You know what I'm saying? So that was a point. I said, you know what? Enough's enough. Because before, like I was saying, when we came up, still sharp and still. You know what I'm saying? It was like you had amazing storytellers like Dane and Slick Rick, but they were different from Biz Markie and Chuck D, and different from KRS-One and Big Daddy Kane, and different from the Fresh Prince, and different from LL. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had different styles, and everybody had an amazing contribution, and Roxanne Shante. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, so long story short, I said I got tired of waiting for the steel to sharpen the steel. I got to reach for the steel within myself, man. And I got to just chop heads.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Your MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
There's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.